right, welcome everybody. Eugene Hughes Motorized. Okay, so hold on, doggone it. Today, my little discussion is going to be about these cool looking vintage Springer forks that we've got here that we can put on our bikes, on our motorized bikes. But let me tell you a little story, whatever. Way back in the day, we just had bicycles. The evolution of motorcycles was somebody put a motor on a bicycle and the motorcycle was born. Then they found out that your basic bicycle really wasn't designed to handle the stress of having a motor on it. They had catastrophic failures in the frames as a result of the engines. Now granted, they were putting some big heavy engines on them, not like our little bitty, 15 or 12 pound motors that we're throwing on here, but the forces that are working against the frame are still the same. I don't know about you, but I've seen a few photos online of motorized bicycles where the frames have just snapped right in half with catastrophic results, okay? I don't know about you. I go to the grocery store, I get me a big old sack of nuts. I go riding back home on my motorized bicycle. I don't want to get in a wreck and rip my nut sack open, okay? So pay attention. That's why I'm doing this here, all right? And I don't want to see it happen to you either, okay? Mama told me when I was young, boy, they ain't never going to find you handsome. Just let some people find you handy. So that's what I want to do. I want to give you a little advice here. When I first started doing motorized bicycles, I saw these and I go, wow, that's badass, okay? One of the British motorcycle manufacturers way back in the day came up with this style of fork here, and Schwinn got the license and they started putting them on bicycles, and that's what we're looking at here today. And of course nowadays they're being reproduced over across the pond there in China and imported here. These are fine for bicycles, okay? And I know people who've put them on motorized bicycles and not had a problem, and I know people have had some problems, okay? So let's go over some of the problem areas of this style fork. I'm going to offer you some solutions, and hopefully you're not going to have your nutsack get ripped open, okay? That's important, all right? So look, this right here, where it ties in, you've got your part that goes on, the threaded part that goes in on the steering tube here. Got this intersection right here. You got where the bolt goes through. That is the weakest, most dangerous part of these here. You've got this acorn nut right here. It only has about 3 threads into this acorn nut. There's no lock washer in there. Now, whenever you bend metal, you weaken it. So this here is bent at about a 35-degree angle. That's weakened it. They then put a dimple in it, which gives it some strength for the hole, but as well, bending it there creates a weak spot. Then we've got the fact that this guy here is going to be rocking back and forth here, and it's grinding into the post, into the tubes here, on the steering tube here. So this here is just an accident waiting to happen. I know a few buds that have had this acorn nut pop off when they're riding, okay? So danger, Will Robinson, danger. Now, the truss rod here, where it comes up and ties in at the top here, there's no lock washer. Now the nut has a serrated edge on it that will do some locking, of course, but the fact that this bar here is going to be moving somewhat, that could help this thing come off, okay? So at the very minimum, what we need to do is take this carriage bolt off here, get about 10 millimeter longer carriage bolt, get you an 8 millimeter nylock lock nut, put a washer in there, put the nylock nut on it, and cinch it up. Ideally, I recommend you take this tube here and you throw it in the trash. And then you take a piece of 3/4 inch solid bar stock, bend it, and weld it up. But if you don't have that, don't worry about it, okay? This here is going to be a lot safer, what I'm suggesting, than what we've got originally stock here. Now let me show you a little something here. Okay, so we've got the fork tube here. I cut one, I did surgery on it. Cut it right there at the danger point, okay? Now take a look at this right here. I'm going to give you a better view here, okay? This is how thin this metal is. This is very thin metal, okay? Plus we've got the grinding on it. You get it tight. There, you've got, this is a recipe for disaster, all right? So what I'm recommending you do, this is the bolt that comes out, is right at 115 millimeters long. Okay, we're going to want to get a bolt that's going to be at least 130 to 140 millimeters long. So I would suggest get one at least 140 millimeters long, 10 millimeter bolt here. Get you an Allen one, I recommend, that's hardened. Okay, so then what we're going to do, you're going to get 6 10 millimeter flat washers, and you're also going to need 2 nylon washers. Don't have them here, but I haven't done the mod yet, but it's easy enough to get. So, and you're going to need to get a 10 millimeter nylock nut, okay? So, you're going to put one 10 millimeter flat washer on the 2 outer sides here. One here, one there. Then, on the inside here, I recommend you put a flat washer, a nylon washer, and another flat washer. That way you've got a nylon washer between the 2 flat washers here. Whatever the thickness is of 2 washers, of the 2 flat washers and 1 nylon washer, you need to cut off of both sides. So if you're going to be, let's see, you're probably going to need to take about 7 millimeters off of each side. But basically stack up 2 flat washers and the nylon washer that you get, 10 millimeter washers, and whatever the thickness is of those 3 washers, cut that off of both sides of this tube here. That way we don't change the distance in there. Okay, so for the inside here, here's the carriage bolt that came out. This is an 8 millimeter by 15 millimeter carriage bolt. You're going to want one that's going to be at least 10 millimeters longer. And you're going to want 2 8 millimeter flat washers. And you're going to want 2 8 millimeter nylock nuts to complete the modification. Okay, so to sum up, what you're going to need is you're going to need the long bolt here, 10 millimeter by 130 millimeter, get you a 140 millimeter long one too. 10 millimeter thread. You're going to need 6 10 millimeter flat washers. You're going to need 2 10 millimeter nylon washers, 2 10 millimeter nylock hex nuts, 2 8 millimeter carriage bolts that are about 10 millimeters longer than the stock ones. I'd say about 25 millimeters long. You're going to need 2 8 millimeter flat washers and 2 8 millimeter hex nuts with a nylon insert on it. That should make your forks a lot safer. Now we've still got the issue of the weak spot here, of where it's been bent, drilled, and all of that. It's not ideal, but you're going to be a little bit safer. Now if you have the ability to do some welding and fabrication, let me show you what you can do. Okay, so what I did here is I laid out the fork here. We've got the center of this hole here, center of this hole here, and the center of this hole here marked out. I've got the center there, center there, center there. But what we're going to do here, what I'm thinking I'm going to do, is take a piece of 3/4 inch stock and bend it a little bit further down than the stock piece here. That will enable me to take a piece of 3/16 inch plate, put here, drill it, drill my hole there, and use a piece of 1/8 inch plate here and here. Put that into the end of the bar stock weld it on here, weld it on here, and then drill my holes here. What I'm going to do is make me a jig with a bolt here, here, and here that I can assemble everything on, and that way I get both sides done and matched exactly the same. Now, hey, I'm going to have a link down below for these forks here, but if you get a set of these forks for a motorized bike, please do the modifications that we're talking about so you don't wind up, you know, getting the old nutsack ripped open. You want to bring your bag of walnuts home safely, don't you? I'm going to be building up a couple of sets of these Springer forks here with the 3/4 inch bar stock here and make a very heavy duty pair. I think I'm going to have fun with these here as well. I've got some lowrider ones I'm going to be playing with too. That'll be a video in the future, but if you like my video and you think this is helping people out, give me a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, give me a big fat like. I want to thank you for watching. Y'all be careful now, okay?